Welcome to Diligent Canine, and in this reflection video I'm going to talk about olfaction and odor plumes and Charlie Brown. So I was walking my dog Dean last weekend, and at the time of recording here it's coming to the end of August, and in Georgia where I live it is still 90 something degrees in the afternoon and 80 something percent humidity. It's hot. So I was walking the dog down a sidewalk, and a woman and her lab were walking the other direction coming towards us, and the short version is nothing happened. But I know that Dean can be reactive to other dogs. He's particularly protective of me and has a very low tolerance for other dogs that become aggressive or have poor boundaries or bad behavior around him when they're in his space. So I was walking, they were walking, I moved Dean off I shortened his leash, moved him to the side, off the sidewalk, told him to sit. The woman saw the patch, the harness and the patches on Dean, asked if it was okay for us to walk past, or for them to walk past. I said yes, and they walked past, and that was it. But there's more to it, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be making a video. What I thought was really interesting was Dean's response after the people had walked past. So I could tell right away when the other person was approaching us. Obviously Dean knows they're there, and he kind of stood at attention. His ears were up, his tail was raised a little bit, but he wasn't leaning forward aggressively. His mouth was still relaxed, his mouth was open, his tail wasn't horizontal or feathered out, his hackles weren't raised, none of that. But I could tell he was at attention. And he was kind of pulling a little bit towards this other dog. Like I said, I did have him sit. He did not look at me, so I kind of had to help him, like manually, not like crank his neck, but like turn his face towards me. And once he made eye contact with me, I marked and rewarded it as the other people were walking by. But this is something I never thought about, how odor pools and how odor moves. Obviously with the temperature, as the particles warm up and they rise or they cool down and they sink, but windage and all of that, I just hadn't thought about it before, and it was a really cool moment where I almost visualized in my mind like the like cartoony odor plumes in front of me. So what happened was the other people walked by, and Dean did not go, when I released him, did not immediately like dart after this other woman and her dog. I didn't think that was going to happen anyway, and it didn't. But what I thought was interesting was he went in a straight line between where they had stopped and spoke to me and where they were at the time that I released him. And what's more is, so he goes in that line about halfway between where they had stopped and where they were at the time I released him, and then lifts his head up and looks not at them when they were walking away, but at the place where they had stopped and waited just for a couple seconds. And at almost that exact moment, the woman said to her dog, "Come on, lady." So I wasn't watching them. I assumed the dog stopped and looked back or was sniffing something on the ground. I also assumed that it was a female dog, and she may be in season. And I even said out loud, "Oh, you smell her," talking to my dog. I have no idea if the woman heard me or not. Probably sounded creepy if she did, but I was talking to my dog because it was such a cool revelation in my mind that I had just visualized like Pigpen from Charlie Brown with this like cloud of dirt and funk around him. But that's how odor kind of works. So as the people were standing still, odor is just like, whether it was the female dog in season, or the perfume the woman was wearing, or anything like that, the odor is just pouring and pooling off. It's pouring off of all of us all the time. Our sweat, our pheromones, our clothes, the stuff we ate, our breath, everything. So odor is just pouring off of us, and when we stand still, that pig pen cloud of odor anyway is just like fermenting and building up around us. And if you move slow, like you're just walking, then the cloud kind of moves with you, like with Pigpen on Charlie Brown. But if you this woman was wearing like leggings and like a running tank top, and tennis shoes, and moved kind of quickly as she walked past. And what happens to that odor pool then that was building up around you while you were standing still, it's kind of like a Looney Tunes or Roadrunner type of thing. If you imagine like the jet stream and like the Looney Tunes cartoons, there's always like a poof of smoke or dust, and then like a little jet stream out of it. And so what I imagined in my mind was this pool of odor that had built up, and when the woman like walked briskly by, there was a jet stream. So like the odor wasn't very strong when you think about like wind, like blowing your hair back. You know, again, this is like exaggerated in cartoons, but like odor does the same thing. So if there's a wind, a headwind, the odor is coming off of you towards out back behind you. Okay, it's not pushing out against the wind. So this person walks from like this where their odor was pooling, and there's a jet stream out, and odor is not coming out around them. They're moving, so the odor is being pushed back from the windage back into that cloud. And that's where Deanan looked. He went into the stream and lifted his head and looked back into the pool. Now, it's possible that I could be reading way too much into that, and Dean just smelled some barbecue a few houses down or something and looked that way. But nevertheless, it was a neat educational moment for myself to visualize and think about how odor works and how it moves with wind, with air temperature, and where it kind of sticks or where it pools, the sort of regions that odors tend to collect in. So I hope that was helpful and help illustrate some of how odor works to you. Thank you for your support of Diligent Canine, and by subscribing to support military and working dogs. Thanks for watching.